中国人。医生。撇。一。树。生。生。早上。⶜ⵗᵏ。早。上。学生。横撇。横撇。学。生。学校。人。⶜ⵗᵏ。刀。⶜ⵗᵏ。力。 横撇，右，口，横，土，横撇，点，西，横，大，撇点，撇，女，子，横，竖钩，点，寸，竖钩，小，横，竖，弓，腰， ᶑ折弯钩，弓，便斜钩，便斜钩，横，斜钩，斜钩，歌，斜钩，斜钩，歌，横，斜钩，斜钩，点，歌，心，撇，歌，心，横折，弓，心，斜钩，歌，撇，手，树， 好，
你 Learn a language by watching TV. Choose from hundreds of TV shows.
Oui, c'est bien moi.
Oui, je vois ça.
Click on words in the subtitle to get an instant translation.
No veo nada, no veo nada.
Review what you have learned with video-based flashcards. Learn a language by watching TV.
大家好，欢迎您来到我的频道。If you want to learn Mandarin but have very limited time, then this is the video for you. Mandarin Chinese is officially one of the hardest languages in the world for a native English speaker to learn, especially if you're trying to do it part-time. I'm currently in my final year of studying medicine at Cambridge, and I'm balancing my medical school studies with learning Chinese by myself at home in any free time that I can get. 今天我想跟你们分享一下我今年学中文的计划。现在我在剑桥读医学，所以比较忙，没有太多时间学中文。I started seriously learning Chinese just over a year ago. I've set myself some new Chinese learning goals for 2022. So in this video, I'm going to talk about exactly how I'm planning to continue making progress with my Mandarin Chinese by self-studying Mandarin Chinese from home part-time, and how you can most effectively use your time to maximize your Chinese learning efficiency. I'm going to be sharing all the resources that I'll be using and exactly how I'm going to be planning out my time. I'm on a student budget at the moment, so this is all going to be very budget friendly. All you really need to get started is a computer with an internet connection, some spare time on your hands, and a lot of motivation to stay dedicated to the goal. So as always, I've put timestamps below so you can skip ahead to the bits that interest you. I'm going to talk firstly about goal setting and how I make my plan for learning Chinese. Then I'm going to talk about how I structure my learning and how I'm going to learn vocab. And finally, I'll get into how I'm going to practice speaking and listening as well. So let's get right into the video. Firstly, it's so important to set yourself some goals and plan how you're going to learn. This has been so important for me while I've been learning Mandarin, and honestly, I think a lot of my progress is down to having a very structured plan, which I aim to follow most days. The first thing you need to think about when it comes to goal setting is why you're learning Mandarin. Write down a little list somewhere that you can look at if you're feeling demotivated or if you're not feeling excited to learn, because actually being able to learn that language and having the time and the resources to do that is a huge privilege, and I feel very lucky that I have the time and the resources to learn Mandarin Chinese. This is something I often have to remind myself of, so having this all written down somewhere, why you want to learn the language and things that excite you about the language, is super important to staying committed. Secondly, it's really important to determine your priorities when learning a language. So for me, my priorities were communicative competence in terms of speaking with people and also digital literacy, basically being able to understand any Chinese text messages or comments or any kind of Chinese websites. So that means the things that are really important for me when I'm learning are firstly being able to speak with people, which includes both actually speaking and also listening and understanding, and secondly being able to read and recognize characters. I decided to deprioritize learning writing by hand because I realized it would take me so much more time to be able to both know the vocab and learn the actual vocab itself and how to use it, and also how to handwrite it, including all the stroke order and everything. That would probably take me twice as long to make progress in Chinese, and it's not really a skill that I would necessarily use because most of the communication these days is over text and typing on a digital keyboard. So for me, as long as I can recognize characters and type them using a pinyin keyboard, that's good enough for me. And if you're not familiar with pinyin keyboards, essentially how they work is there's a standard alphabetical keyboard where you type in the pinyin for a word and a couple of suggestions for characters comes up. So obviously if you can recognize the correct character and pick it, then you can effectively type in Chinese on a laptop or a phone, which is good enough for my purposes. So if writing is something that you are really passionate about, then please do go for it. But for me personally, I realized that with the very limited time that I have, I want to focus that all on things that are really important to me in terms of my Chinese progress, which is essentially improving my communicative competence and how well I can talk to people in real life or over texting. And the third stage of planning is I have a big master Excel spreadsheet spreadsheet where I put all the resources that I'm using and use it to kind of track all my progress on everything. And being able to see my progress through various Anki decks or various vocab lists is really motivating, and it reminds me of how far I've come. Towards the end of the video, once I've talked a bit about all the kinds of resources I'm using, I'll put them all together and show you how I use my Excel spreadsheet to really track my progress. Of course, feel free to skip ahead if that's what you're interested in. So in terms of the actual resources and the way that I'm learning, firstly, the structure that I use is vaguely pegged to the HSK curriculum. HSK stands for 汉语水平考试, which basically means Chinese level exam. The HSK curriculum is really nicely structured, so I'm aiming for reaching HSK 5 level by the end of 2022.
So, yeah, of course, there is a city in China called Chongqing. And yes, there is a city also called Linglong. And yes, actually, I checked, there is a city also called Ding Dong. So that's not my point. That's not what I'm trying to talk about today. I'm trying to talk about 5 misconceptions that I had and a lot of people have about the Chinese language. Now, the stereotypical language that you probably hear that you think is Chinese is actually Cantonese. For example, let's have a little conversation here about going to get some barbecue. 你吃饭了吗？
你食咗飯未啊？
那我们要吃什么？
咁你想食乜嘢啫？
那我們去吃燒烤吧。
咁我哋去食燒烤啦。
我不要像上次一樣吃了地溝油拉肚子。
我唔想好似上次咁食咗地溝油屙肚啊。
They sound completely different, don't they? So a lot of people actually think that because Chinese is a tonal language and there's 4 tones.
Ma, ma, ma.
That means that you can't use a tone of voice to kind of change your meaning. For example, if I say, wow, that's really great, or I say, wow, that's really great, a lot of people think that in Chinese you can't do that since there's 4 strict tones. Now let me tell you, the exact same phenomenon in Chinese exists just like in English.
那好吧。
Now, another misconception is that Chinese is one language, and that's simply not true. Now, of course, we have different dialects and kind of different accents in America throughout the entire country.
Not like you think it is. It's not, because it's not like the show, and it's got they're thinking. Tennessee's got a thought. They're thinking about it.
But in China, the different dialects are almost like completely different languages. Now, of course, you've heard of Mandarin Chinese, and that's obviously the top dog. That's what most of the country, I believe 92% of people speak. But there's tons of other dialects like Cantonese, Jin Chinese, Hakka, and Minnanhua. Not only is the accent completely different, but they use different phrases to even greet each other, and different phrases and different grammatical structures. 你最近怎么样？敢拍點嗎？你喜歡嗎？你吃飽未？你去哪裡呀？弄過來好吧？ Obviously, these are completely different. Now, the good news is you don't have to waste your time learning these dialects unless you want to impress some local people. There's a local guy here in my city. He was actually from India, but he lived in Huizhou so long that he was in Huizhou when people only spoke Hakka. So he learned Hakka before he learned Chinese. And at the end of the day, now everyone in Huizhou speaks Mandarin, so it's not super useful, although it is kind of a cool party trick. Now, another misconception is that Chinese characters, or letters, as some people call them in the West, are like mystical runes. Now, actually, only 20 to 30% of the Chinese characters came from the oracle bones that everyone hears about. And actually, characters, although they're super complicated and hard to learn, actually are composed of all kinds of different radicals that make up each other. So it's akin to kind of an English alphabet, except much more diverse and much more complicated. But what that means is that a lot of characters are composed of the same radicals, so there's not some ancient or secret meaning behind them. For example, I'm going to aim this at the tattoo artists of the world. A lot of Westerners go into tattoo parlors thinking that they're going to get some epic symbol like dragon, or love, or trust, or friendship, or power. I've seen this tattooed on their body. And actually, what they've done is akin to writing the word in English, like dragon, on your body. Dude, check out my new tattoo. It's not cooler, and it doesn't have any more significant ancient meaning. I remember I was working years and years ago, and a woman kind of came up to the register, and I had just started to learn a few Chinese characters. This is in America. And she comes up to the register and she has a character Li, which means power, on her arm. And I said, wow, that's a cool Chinese character. It means power. And she goes, no, it means the strength to overcome any adversity because my mother had breast cancer and she got over it. And I said, well, it just means power. It doesn't have any significant meaning. And she was just all huffed and puffed out of there because there was some sort of cultural significance in her mind of her tattoo, when in fact, at the end of the day, it's kind of like getting English words on your body. Now, my last and final point is actually that Chinese is the hardest language in the entire world. You hear this all the time. And if you look at the much maligned or the...
You probably know Vistaprint for business cards. Yeah, we print that. But did you know we also print that?
The other day I came across this really cool app. It's called ⶑ⶗₁₁, and it actually reminded me of why it was so difficult to learn Chinese in the past. Because back in the day I had to use something called a dictionary. And this is a special little book that you use to look up the words in different language so you can learn. But it was really, really difficult, and I think a lot of people get confused because they watch my videos and they see a progression of Chinese language skill and my life in China, but it was way after I moved here when I started to make videos, so you missed out on all the difficult struggles that I had when actually trying to learn Chinese. Now, long story short, I was approached the other day by some people that wanted me to check out this app. And this app, ⶑ⶗₁₁, is a fantastic way to meet people and be able to learn languages, not just Chinese, from all around the world. And I was
Growing up in Taiwan as a daughter of calligrapher, one of my most treasured memories was my mother showing me the beauty, the shape, and the form of Chinese characters. Ever since then, I was fascinated by this incredible language. But to an outsider, it seems to be as impenetrable as the Great Wall of China. Over the past few years, I've been wondering if I can break down this wall so anyone who wants to understand and appreciate the beauty of this sophisticated language to do so. I started thinking about how a new, fast method of learning Chinese might be useful. Since the age of 5, I started to learn how to draw every single stroke for each character at correct sequence. I learn new characters every day during the course of the next 15 years. Since we only have 5 minutes, it's better that we have a fast and simpler way. A Chinese scholar would understand 20,000 characters. You only need 1,000 to understand the basic literacy. The top 200 will allow you to comprehend 40% of basic literature, enough to read road sign, restaurant menu, to understand the basic idea of the web pages or the newspapers. Today, I'm going to start with 8 to show you how the method works. You ready? Open your mouth as wide as possible until it's square. You get a mouse. This is a person going for a walk. Person. If the shape of the fire is a person with 2 arms on both sides, as if she was yelling frantically, "Help, I'm on fire." The symbol actually is originally from the shape of the flame, but I like to think that way, whichever works for you. This is a tree. Tree. This is a mountain. The sun. The moon. The symbol of the door looks like a pair of saloon door in the Wild West. I call these 8 characters radicals. They are the building blocks for you to create lots more characters. A person, if someone walks behind, then it's to follow. As the old saying goes, 2 is company, 3 is a crowd. If a person stretches the arms wide, this person is saying, It was this big. The person inside the mouth, the person is trapped. He's a prisoner, just like Jonah inside the whale. One tree is a tree, two trees together, we have the woods. Three trees together, we create the forest. Put a plank underneath the tree, we have the foundation. Put a mouse on the top of the tree, that's idiot. Easy to remember, since a talking tree is pretty idiotic. Remember fire? Two fires together, I get really hot. Three fires together, that's a lot of flames. Set the fire underneath the two trees, it's burning. For us, the sun is the source of prosperity. Two suns together, prosperous. Three together, that's a lot of sparkles. Put the sun and the moon shining together, it's brightness. It also means tomorrow, after a day and a night. The sun is coming up above the horizon, sunrise. A door, put a plank inside the door, we have this door bolt. Put a mouse inside the door, asking questions. Knock, knock, is anyone home? This person is sneaking out of the door, escaping, evading. On the left, we have a woman. Two women together, they have an argument. Three women together, be careful, it's adultery. So we have gone through almost 30 characters. By using this method, the first 8 radicals will allow you to build 32. The next group of 8 characters will build an extra 32. So within very little effort, you will be able to learn a couple hundred characters, which is the same as the Chinese.